Hello and welcome to today's webinar on Better Disaster Recovery, Better Life. We have one of our valued managed service provider partners joining us today. And before we get started, I would like to remind everyone that this session is being recorded and that you will find that everyone is on mute. That doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. We definitely do. We just want to provide a good quality listening experience for all the attendees. So if you have questions, please enter them in the question pane and we'll be happy to answer them as we go along. If you have any technical problems, please do let us know in the chat window. So with that, I'd like to introduce today's presenters. As mentioned, we have Gilbert DeLeon, who is the president of IITS Networks and Automation Group, which is a very well-established managed service provider. He's going to tell us a little more about his organization in just a moment. And he's going to be chatting with Chris Groot, who's the general manager for Cove Data Protection here at Enable. So Gilbert, why don't you tell us a little bit about your organization?
Well, we've been in business for almost 23 years now, and we've definitely seen the path for disaster recovery and just how IT is used in the industry. We serve a lot of small businesses, nonprofits, medium-sized business, and also unique industries such as energy, pharmaceutical, and also automated manufacturing. So we've grown our processes and grown our skill sets to actually serve those types of industries. We've been here for a while, and we've seen a lot of change, and we are glad to actually have found Enable to help us grow our company. It's been fantastic.
Wonderful. Well, Chris, I will let you take it away from here. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, Gil, I was actually curious. I didn't ask previous. So how big is your team now?
So our group has a core group of only 7 people. However, because it's a group, we actually work with several integrators around the East Coast to do projects throughout the East Coast. One company can't do it all. That's one of the things I've learned throughout the years. And we all have our specific technology prowess as well as integration specialists, specialties. So, we have a couple of different divisions in our company. We have our data division, which does traditional networks. We do data centers. We also do the managed services now because of Enable. It's helped us grow that business. But we also have an automation division. So we do home automation, we do manufacturing automation, we do process engineering, and we also have our communications division. We do voice networks, secure networks for lots of different companies. So we have different subsets of things that we do, and just the clients that we have are fairly unique. From power plants to pharmaceuticals. It's been a great journey. So, and you guys have been a key part of how we grow and how we use your tools in order for our people, our group, to actually grow. So it's a fantastic synergy between your company's tools and what we use, for it.
Excellent. So maybe, I'm curious, I know when we had an initial conversation, and this is going back a few months, you kind of share a little bit about your personal business philosophy and sort of how, and then we'll parlay that into like finding the right tools to support, how you run your business. But yeah, just kind of maybe could you share with the group just sort of a bit of your philosophy or your approach to business?
So the secret ingredient to our company is 3 things. It's people, processes, and tools. Gotta have them, gotta put them in the right order. You gotta have the right people, the right process, and the right tools. And if you put those 3 things together, it's magical. You can do a lot of things. You can get into industries that you could never think of. And also, because of the tool sets that you guys have, it allows us to actually enhance what we do to protect our customers, protect their businesses, and provide business continuity. You know, a lot of people think of backup as just backup. It's a lot more than that. You've got to have a process in order for you to continue business. You know, who's going to do the backup and who's going to watch the backup? Who's going to do the restore? You have to have those processes in place, and you have to have those conversations in place with your customer. And once they really find out that backup isn't just putting something on a USB stick every day and hoping that you're going to recover from your business by just doing that, you know, those conversations start to really give value, and that's how we grow. You know, we've helped several clients create processes that make them better, make them more profitable. You know, that's really the key. You've got to be able to integrate your skill sets within their company, so this way you become part of their strategy. And as they grow, you grow. You know, so we've morphed our disaster recovery from just the term of backup. We used to sell backup, and we used to sell just your traditional MSP. You know, we'll give you antivirus, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. But what I found throughout the years is, if you have a conversation with your clients and ask them, how are you going to recover if something goes south? How's your people? You know, they use us as a secondary and sometimes as a primary tool. So this way their IT managers can go on vacation without having to worry about who's going to mind the business if something happens. You know, is business going to continue? And those are critical conversations that help you maintain and retain your clients. Most of our clients have been with us for 20 plus years. We've been in business for 23 years. So I've been very fortunate to, you know, to put that mantra together with our group within our core employees, and it's just, if you do that, you'll have an amazing business. You know, it'll afford you to do the things that you want to do and not worry about where's my next client gonna come. You know, your referral base is just tremendous. You know, if you follow those tools.
It's the best way to grow a business for sure. If your name precedes you. So taking that you know, people, process, and tools, then you know, obviously you've got the people. It sounds like your process may have changed a bit in terms of, you talked about that transition from the conversation being about backup to disaster recovery to business continuity. I'm curious to ask, like, that marriage of like the process that you were putting in place and then seeking a tool to support that. Maybe tell us about that journey and how you've found like what you're looking for and what you found, like what you explored, and then ultimately what drove your decision.
So the biggest thing in IT is lack of documentation. Everybody has their idea in their heads, and all these managers out there are like, you know, I've got it, right? But you've got it in your head. You can't share that. And one of the things that we have focused on is better execution on documentation. And also, when you start to do that, you start to do process planning. You start to define who is responsible, what's the time frame, and actually give it some, you know, some ownership as far as to, when have you actually done a full disaster recovery? Have you actually certified it? You know, a disaster recovery isn't just recovering your data onto your existing server. That's not a disaster recovery. A disaster recovery is recovering your data from another site with completely different hardware and seeing what time and how long will it take for you to execute that. You know, you need to create those process tools. Companies will pay for you to actually have that and to certify it, so this way they can sleep at night saying, I got this checkbox checked. I know that it's done. I know because it's tested. I know that it's been proven, and I know who I need to talk to if that event ever happens. And it's got to be done on a monthly basis. You know, some of our clients, they require us to do it every week. You know,
A test every week.
so yeah, test every week, and you know, just profitability on that is incredible. You know, some of them are requirements. I mean, the two best things in business is regulation and requirement. They have to do it. You charge for those services, you know. So those are fantastic words whenever someone from Washington comes out and says, we are requiring you to do this. That means somebody's got to pay for it, because if you don't do it, you will not stay in business. You know. So, you know, so one, you have to have those processes in place, and somebody has to create it. Now, the great thing about you guys is you guys have great reporting tools. It gives us the report card to say that we are doing our job. We are backing up. It gives us better insight onto a full recovery system, and also it's part of our business continuity. When we sit down with the board members on their quarterly meetings, we have reports, and we use your reports as part of our validation. So this way they see the value of our company in their organization. You know, so the reporting tools are absolutely amazing. The other thing too is support. Support it doesn't just come internally within your team. It comes with external support within your team. I'll give you an example how well you guys are when it comes to being a vendor. I had our sales engineer, you know, so most sales engineer just wants to sell you stuff, which is their job, right?
In their title.
In their title. Ours, he actually calls us and emails us to let us know that, hey, by the way, we have a TLS upgrade that's happening, and it could impact your backup. You know, now a sales engineer taking his time to look at all our clients and sending that report out and sending it to our team, because our team missed it, and now they can act on it. You know, now that could have been, you know, it could have been tragic. It could have been nothing, but just for that alone, just for, you know, for the fact that Evan, you know, I had kudos to Evan for sending that notice and triggering a process on our side, so this way we can keep those backups flowing and there's no issue. Tell me any other vendor that you can get that email from a sales engineer, okay, from any other company. I could only count it on one hand and on one finger, and that's Enable.
That's a great story. I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, and certainly we recognize the importance of your experience, and, you know, any way we can support, we're always looking for those details. With respect to, just to kind of change gears, I'd like to go a little bit on the technology, and then kind of a little bit on the profitability, and then maybe we'll touch a little bit just on the current context, because just for the audience's information, Gil today is actually in Orlando, I believe.
We are in Orlando. We were going to do this webinar in Tampa, but Tampa is a little bit underwater. So we decided to move a little bit central to kind of get away from the path of the storm. So we decided to stay at a resort in Orlando, and it just happens to be following us. So we're going to hunker down for the next few days here. Just, it's all over Florida. So, but so far, so good, So.
Yeah, it's certainly a reminder of the topic du jour and why we're business continuity is so relevant, especially right now for everyone on the coast of Florida there. So with respect to so as you know, Cove uses a cloud first architecture. A lot of other products are sort of this local first architecture. So there's that fundamental difference. What was your observation in terms of what was the right fit in terms of the tools then? Like once you had your process and you knew what your customers wanted, what made you decide on the right approach from a tools perspective?
So taking you back 23 years, okay, 23 years of being in business, we've tried just about every tool out there. And if you are using a appliance tool, it's fallible. It has errors. You can't take it with you. What happens if that building burns down? And also, who is monitoring it? It's, you can't get the reporting out of a single box, no matter how good it is, And the other thing too is, how can you test it? How can you test that disaster recovery? It's scary from a business perspective as an IT when a customer comes to you and says, my server's dead, my data center's dead, what's wrong? And all of a sudden it's like, if you can't, if your process doesn't include checking and it's not almost 100% bulletproof, you're going to need a lot of tequila. It is extremely scary, and that's one of the things that my techs have told me. Whenever we've gotten, whenever we had a disaster recovery plan and we had to get the tools, we tried things from Intronis, we've tried things from Acronis, we tried the appliances, we tried, just things, because sometimes customers tell us that I just want something simple. Right? Well, disaster recovery is not a simple process. It has to be built, and it has to be built right. So, number one, the biggest thing is, don't let the customer drive the conversation when it comes to disaster recovery. They are coming to you for advice. Do not take their advice. If you're taking their advice, walk away. That's one thing I can tell you as far as being in business for the longest time. They are not experts. They're hiring you because you are the expert. So give them expert advice. The thing too is, when you're doing backups, you have to have the right tools in order for you to execute that right plan. Getting a disaster recovery out, if you're just using USB drives, you're using a NAS unit, that is very, very hard to actually recreate if that rack goes down. We've had an issue where a rack actually had a power issue, and it actually broke 4 main servers and 2 of their backup units, and all four power supplies went down. With the aspect of the inventory shortage, and this was another client, by the way. They couldn't get their data back up because of 4 power supplies they couldn't source. The data was there, you can't power it back on. So how are you going to recover if you have that issue? Within our solution, very easy. It was backed up on a cloud. We had active restore. Your software is, spot on for all our clients, and our clients didn't get affected. The other ones did. We actually got them as a new client. So
And so in your process, then are you maintaining a standby image of some sort, like on infrastructure that you're controlling them to help with that?
correct. We actually have a full subset of servers that we recover to on a daily basis. And actually, we're going to be announcing a new partnership with a ILEC and CLEC that's local in our area, a company called Margaretville Telephone Company. And we're going to actually be leveraging their infrastructure to provide certified backup disaster recovery services that is ISO rated. It'll have processes in place. So, any company who is looking for a fully managed, fully certified, and almost spot on disaster recovery plan will have it. And we're partnering with an ILEC. We'll have 100 meg, 100 meg circuit. And on one side, and actually one of them we were talking about almost a gigabit as far as a pipeline into our into our mini data center that we're creating just for active recovery. So it's really about business continuity. The way we work is if a server goes down, we have a spare. We have a spare server. It takes us minutes to actually recover your data because it's already actively recovering. We pop that on drives. We put it in a box. We drive it to you, and you're back on. Our SLA is 4 hours. So we'll get you up and running within 4 hours of a completely dead box. And most of that 4 hours, it's driving time. So, we've practiced that with our clients. So this way they know the expectation of how long will it take for them to be fully recovered in case something goes south, So they don't have to wait for parts. We already have parts. We have the servers and we have the data because of you guys.
That's great. Yeah, for the group on the line here, we'll do a quick, if you want to stick around after we kind of finish the conversation, we'll also do a quick demo just to kind of highlight some of these things, in action, sometimes it's helpful to see the visual. But so kind of the full equation then is you've built the process, the tools you're using in terms of the backup, the offsite storage, and monitoring and maintenance is Cove. And then in addition, then you've got this disaster recovery service where you're utilizing the features of Cove to basically maintain that active recovery, or essentially a standby image. So when production goes down, you can bring them up very quickly.
Absolutely, it's key. It is absolutely key to what we do. And the thing is charge for those services. Charge for it.
Yeah, that's the next question I wanted to take you there. Just to kind of get some, maybe, I don't know what insights you could share, but about kind of the profitability end of the business, because you're saying charge for it. There's two parts of profitability. One is what you charge for it, and what it costs you to deliver that service. What's your kind of philosophy or approach to that, or anything specific? I'm sure the crowd would love to hear.
So I'm going to tell you a couple of things. We are in not necessarily a niche market, but a very defined market. One of the markets is energy. So when you are working with energy companies, they require a lot of compliancy, regulation, and also the tools that you need they've got to be on a 99.999 level. That being said, the more touch you put in, the more you can charge. On average, our high availability clients, they're anywhere from $7,000 to $11,000 a month in revenue.
That's great.
That is a lot more than if you were just having the small. I mean, how many small little guys are you gonna have to have, and how much staff do you have to have in order for you to achieve a $7,000 to $11,000 revenue model per client? You got to work smarter. Work smarter with the right tools, put the right processes together, and it'll be amazing. The other thing too is, you've got to make yourself unique in this marketplace. How not necessarily sticky, how valuable are you as a company in your industry, in your area, within your peers? So this way you're not constantly looking over your shoulder to find who's going to take my client,
Right.
So that's one advice that I can give folks being in business for 23 years. Always look forward. What do you call it? It's good to look in the rearview mirror once in a while. We see who's coming up, but if you can't look forward and you can't drive forward, you're driving backwards.
Excellent. So that's kind of, you're establishing value, and within that $7,000 to $11,000, I'm guessing it's one component of that overall service delivery is the disaster recovery. Then the other side of the equation, of course, is the cost side of things, because there is options out there like appliances and various things that you've looked at over the years. So from a kind of that margin perspective or profitability perspective, what was your observation on Cove as a set of tools, and where did you find the fit there?
Oh, it was a huge difference. At one point, we had to have several NAS units in our mini data center that we created to provide backups before we met you guys. Also, the way the appliances are, the dados and all that stuff, it gets really, really, really expensive. And also, it doesn't work well when it comes to full disaster recovery. I mean, you think about it when you talk to a client and ask them, what is your disaster recovery plan? And if they bring a box to your location and here I can recover from this, I say that's not a disaster recovery plan. What happens if that guy that was driving that NAS unit to my office gets hit by a truck? You wouldn't have that,
Right.
So, having those conversations with CEOs, CTOs, just even IT managers made a huge difference. So, as far as profitability wise, it is less gear. We use less gear. We optimize everything in our data center so all the resources are available to all our clients, but I don't have to have hundreds of servers. The likelihood of, we have over 120 clients. The likelihood of all 120 going south in one day is not going to happen. We also do redundant checks on their systems. We know the health and so forth and so on. So we can do predictive analysis on the server end to find out, how they're working. So if there's something imminent, we're proactively looking at those things anyway. We change power supplies. We change hard drives on clients, client servers before they even die. So we do a lot of proactive things. So, but by having those resources on hand, it gives the validation to the customer to say that, hey, you have our back. We've seen you do it. We've actually done server swaps for their validation. So we take their existing server, we swap it with one of ours, and we leave it there, and say, hey, what do you call that? We're just doing a disaster recovery maintenance and a test just to make sure everything's working. And they're like, wow, I didn't have to buy anything, and we take their server, and then from there we refurbish it. We get all the kinks out of their systems, and we do it again. And now they have their old system back in place. Sometimes they tell us, I'd like to buy the new system because it's a lot faster. So we end up getting a sale whenever we do that as well. So on a revenue standpoint, it's it's part of our ecosystem. But it's like I said, it's been, without having your tools, there's no way that I could have morphed my company into the things that we are doing. I can't do that with any other vendor. And we've looked for a long time, and I'm glad that we actually found you guys.
That's great. And maybe just one last question. Just kind of curious to I'm guessing your team does a lot of the work day to day with the actual tools. Have they given you any sort of feedback along the way, kind of before and after, as you guys have adopted this?
They love it. They love your tools. They love the reporting. There's not a bad, I mean, I have to say our lead technician gave me the greatest feedback. She said, I can go on vacation knowing that everything's running. You don't have to worry about anything. So I went on vacation while she's on vacation and everything ran. So, for your lead tech to say that, and for me to have that peace of mind and knowing that the process is working because we have the right tools in place, it is enormous. It's enormous. I mean, you guys know I'm out of the office often. I was just in Spain like a few days ago, and for not just a week, but for a while, and I travel. And my company runs really well because we've got great people, we've got great processes, and we've got great partnerships with guys like you, with your tools and just with your support. So you guys have our backs, which is enormous.
That's great. It's great that peace of mind is a very valuable thing these days. And so with the backdrop of like Hurricane Ian coming through, and you've been uprooted yourself. Do you see any like fallout to organizations that you're working with that are going to be directly impacted? Like, do you expect that you're going to have to go into some like disaster recovery type modes?
They already are. They're already in a disaster recovery mode. They are on remote work. They're on cloud services. We can recover, on those, for the clients if in fact that their buildings get blown away. But their communications, their emails, their infrastructure, their accounting, everything is up and working. There's nothing for them to worry about because everything is already in place. So this way, if something does happen, it's a non-event. That's exactly what you want to tell a customer when they are looking at your services. When something happens, whether or not it's a weather event or it could be a cyber attack, crypto attack or whatnot, it's a non-event, a complete non-event. It's a nuisance. Stuff happens, but your impact on your business is absolutely nothing. So we have business continuity plans, not just for data centers or for their data rather, but also for their communications. From their on-premise systems, it flips right over to the cloud. So and it's, if the internet goes down, there's a backup, and if that goes, there's a backup to that backup. So we're working, we're working for the plan C. So we have a plan A, we have a plan B, we're working on plan C. So those are the strategies that we're going to formulate within the next quarter for next year, is the plan C environment, and making sure that never needs to be executed, but if it is, you got a plan C.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I'm sure your customers then feel that same peace of mind, just the confidence you have, and it sounds like you've run a tight ship in terms of how your processes work. So it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll take a moment here. I don't know, has there been any questions coming along the way, Carrie?
Yes, actually, we have two questions. One of them, I think I already know the answer to because I think we've been talking about it a little bit, but it may have come in before you did that. So, Chris, maybe what they're asking is, can we take the scenario where a site is down or lost, such as a natural disaster? Can they fire up VMs using Cove in a cloud data center and restore the data to get users access to the servers? And if so, how? Perhaps fire up a VM in AWS or Azure or your favorite cloud provider, then restore the data. They just kind of want to know a little more about how that works with Cove, I believe.
Sure. So I don't know. I can give a little bit of a brief update, and Gil, maybe you want to attack on just how you guys think about it. Yeah, so the backups are running, and then on any other infrastructure you choose, which could be local, or it could be like at a centralized location, like the MSP, like the service provider's data center, you can maintain a what we call a standby image. So basically, backups run, and then a copy of that that's up to date to the last backup will be sitting in a bootable format, so in a VHD format, and it'll actually test that backup as regularly, or test that recovery as regularly as you choose. So you can actually get a screenshot of it booting with every backup session if you choose. So there's a lot of flexibility, and different service providers use that differently. But maybe Gil, could you share just a little bit about how you guys approach that?
The way we do it is with active recovery. So every client that we have has an active recovery going on in the background. So once it backs up, it's going to actively recover onto our systems. And we have a hybrid. So we have some cloud servers that we have with certain providers. We have on-premise systems that our clients have access to. So depending on the level of protection and continuity that they want to have, we serve that, and we have a custom hybrid solution. So there is literally very, very little downtime. Like with our clients, we have an active recovery system where if their site goes down, something goes down, they can just RDP into our backup systems, and it's like they're working. It's like having another AWS cloud, without having to pay for an AWS price. So, and also we use that platform to test the backups. So clients can go in freely and say, hey, let me just go in and make sure that things are working, and they can do that anytime that they want to. So we put those processes in place. You charge for those services, you scale for those services, but just having the ability to have an active restore system. In certain clients, we actually have two networks. We have a primary and a secondary network. They use their secondary network to actually test, do the recoveries, but they also use that to also kind of do a lab work. Say there's there's a patch for a software, and you don't know what it's going to do. They can use that environment, to do those testings without having to worry about, well, I'm not touching my production, but this is an exact image, So those things are in place. So a lot of other client and other vendors, they have, like, you can spin it up on the cloud. Problem is that it's really quirky. If you've tried it, have you actually ever tried it? So this way you can print, right? So it's like you've got clients out there that that all of a sudden they need to do a disaster recovery, and all of a sudden it's like, well, great, I can get to my my VMs, but it's all disjointed. It's like, so if all you're doing is backing up your VM, but you're not backing up your Active Directory, how are your users going to log in? So you have to have that whole holistic approach to it. It has to be seamless. It's like in our clients, they have two logins. One is primary, one is secondary. The primary is working all the time. The secondary is their backup. And it's only used for that, but we train them on that. But that has everything that they just did the day ago, a few hours ago. And it's, you got to think that way. So just don't think that, well, can I just recover it by just spitting up a VHD or a VM image on the cloud? You got to have the whole thing. Without having Active Directory, without having single sign-on, especially if you have a single sign-on environment, that stuff doesn't work too well. If you're just using a full cloud system, you got to have a system like ours that's fully tested, fully redundant with Active Directory and single sign-on.
Yeah. There's a lot of practical realities of like that. It sounds like the easy button to fail over to someone's cloud. But the reality is once you step into that, then you're into a whole new world of complexity. You got to get users connected, but also that process of how you get back out of that cloud and back into production is another whole project.
Correct.
So,
that's exactly right. How do you get back from the cloud back into your own location, right? With ours, we bring the server back to their place, take the old one out, and you're back up and running.
Yeah, I see that a lot of practical like mindset in terms of what you guys do for a process that simplifies things and doesn't forget about those secondary projects that get added on when you add complexity.
Yeah. A lot of people forget the fact that when you do a disaster recovery, what happens afterwards if you are only on the cloud? How do you bring it back?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that complexity. It is very complex. You just can't pop that stuff in. It's got to be completely holistic. You got your software makes it seamless.
That's excellent. Great to hear. Carrie, was there a second question?
Yeah, there is. Speaking of processes and complexity, one of our listeners is asking, they said they would love to know what ticketing system you use to manage all of those steps and requests, keep track of the information from the predictability analysis tasks, just kind of how you stay on top of things.
So we actually use your MSP product to actually do our ticketing. We also have a little bit of a secret sauce when it comes to monitoring and predictive analysis. We use software that we've fine-tuned that gives us the ability to get inside the servers. We use a lot of HP servers and their predictive analysis when it comes to mean time before failures. You can put alerts in there and also baselines. You can actually look at a baseline for your power to say that, hey, has it spiked, has it gone up, and has it gone down? So we do a lot of, I wouldn't say AI, because we have a lot of human power behind things. It's sometimes it's just common sense. Put a reminder saying, hey, you've replaced this power supply on this date. 2 years from now, you should tell the customer, hey, we are going to plan on just replacing your power supplies on this date. Doesn't take much technology to put a reminder on, and just do it. Don't wait till it fails. If you're waiting till it fails, something's going to blow out, something's going to happen. It's going to fragment your data. Be proactive. On servers, very simple. It needs power. It needs hard drives. For your data. Processors are a piece of cake. You pop it in, pop it out, you're good to go, right? So unless you do a lot of the security behind it, then that becomes a little bit more complex, but not terrible hard, But replace the hard drives. Replace your stuff. Replace it. Make that process happen. Tell the client, would you rather wait till the tires blow out of your car going 100 miles an hour? Do the pit stop, get it together, keep it optimized, and go through. Okay, so it's a long journey. But charge for it. Charge for those services.
That's great, and great analogy. Carrie, any other questions come in?
Yeah, someone's just asking for clarification. There was mention of active recovery. Is that a feature of Cove, or is that something separate?
It's part of it. It's part of it. What do you call
Yeah,
it? That's
we
the
can
secret sauce.
we can highlight that in the demo here. So we'll do that in a couple minutes here. I don't know if there are any other questions, we'll take them now. Otherwise, Carrie, would it be a good time to switch over? Is there any other?
No, we have no other questions. So unless there's any final comments, yeah, we could go ahead and move into the demo for those who are interested in seeing that.
All right. So want to thank everyone for joining us first of all as we transition. And Gil, certainly it has been a pleasure. We're not saying goodbye yet, but it has been a pleasure to hear your story. And it sounds like you've married great process, great people, and ultimately have a really nice balance between business and lifestyle. And if you're able to spend time in extended periods in Spain and so on, certainly that means that you've achieved the goal in many ways. So congrats on that.
Thanks.
All right. So I will. I don't see the ability to share my screen. Let me see here. I might need to be made a presenter.
Yeah, I think we're working on that right now.
Okay.
There you go. Now you should be able to.
All right. All right. Do you see us? It looks like Cove on your screen. Maybe Carrie.
Yes, we do. Yes, indeed.
Okay.
It's there.
Great. So yeah, just for the group's first look at this. Basically, when you log into backup.management, so 2FA, all the regular security protocols in terms of getting in, this is where you enter into the management layer. So multi-tenant dashboard, you get to see all your customers. They may have various sites, and so there's a couple levels of multi-tenancy available to you. And you can have users at any of those tenants and subtenants, and they'll only be able to see just the versions or just the devices that are associated with that. So up here in the top left, from a monitoring perspective, you're going to just get an inventory, in this case, across all your customers. You can filter that down to a subset of your customers if you choose. So very easy to navigate and see exactly how many domains from a Microsoft 365 perspective you're covering, as well as servers and workstations. In the middle donut chat tab, you're going to get a real-time update on the status of your current backup. So in this case, we can see 72 are completed and 2 are currently running. And then finally, we get one more piece of information related to the timing of the last backup. So you could have had a good backup on Friday, but if that machine is shut off or something for 2 or 3 days, then it'll actually show up in here as not being backed up within the last 24 or 48 hours. And that's not necessarily a problem, but it certainly something you want to be aware of. And then finally, just from a general monitoring highest level perspective is this last 28 days. The criticality of a problem is different if it's been going on for a week versus if just one backup had an error produced. And so from here, you can see the patterns, exactly what's going on. So I can see here on September 22nd, there was a backup that was completed with errors. So there may have been a couple files that had an issue or something. And so I can work backwards in time from there. And I can, I don't have any currently that are unsuccessful, but if I were to sort by the last 28 days here, I can find, quickly where there was an issue with a backup at one point. So, so that's kind of your monitoring, your overview. So what are the other things that, what we really drive is like we deliver this as a service. We make it turnkey in terms of the software, the management layer, the storage. So what work do you need to do when you kind of kick off? Well, first thing is, of course, deploying, where some people view it as a project when they come on as a Cove customer. But really, what all you need to do is set up your profiles or your service level that you want to deliver, and then to add servers and workstations or Microsoft 365 domains. It's just a matter of picking your path. If I take the servers and workstations route, I can select my service level. So if I wanted to have a 1 hour RPO on Windows machines, I then get this executable, which I can then use repeatedly across a customer for all their devices, and they'll just call back. So you can do this in a scripted deployment. You can use your favorite software deployment tool, including all like all RMMs, which also, of course, includes our own. Once that's deployed, they're going to kick off. The selections are done, schedules are set. It's just a silent to the user. They don't even see it happening. And you come back in short period of time. That initial backup, of course, is going to be a little longer, but you're going to see things turn green, and then you're into a state where then you're ready for recovery. So let's talk about recovery real quick. Two things I think that are useful to know. One is if you have a small scale recovery, so the operating system of the production machine is still running. Let's just say you got to bring back some details. Then we make it really easy where you can, right from the dashboard, phone rings, you can launch what we call a backup client. So this would be the same interface as if you had remoted onto that server, but we're able to connect over HTTPS. You go to the restore tab, and it just needs to generate some of the metadata here. Once that's done, you can go back as far as you need. So, if this was a ransomware attack, you might have to go back further in time depending on how long it's been on the network and what you find out in your incident response. But if we wanted to go back to last Friday and we wanted to go to noon, we can be that specific, and then we can simply drill down into the users and into as detailed or as whole. We can choose an entire volume, an entire user, or just specific portions, and kick off a restore right here from the dashboard. And so that's really easy. You're not mounting an image. You're not like copying, pasting files and emailing them around or any of those kind of traditional ways. Those files are just going to appear right back on that production machine. So that works for databases, lots of SQL in our base and so on. So if that's a need, it's a great use case. The second thing that then really matters, and this comes down to more that disaster recovery conversation. There's two parts to what we provide. The first, which I would say is the knowledge that you're prepared, but I guess there's less work, and you're communicating that you've done testing to your customers, but you don't actually have that standby image like sitting in that active recovery, sitting ready in a bootable format. So that just means that your recovery time may be longer depending on your internet speed, the size of the data, the server or the workstation, etc. But this recovery testing will actually every 14 days, it will actually run a full test. It'll tell you exactly how long it took to run. It'll give you a screenshot showing you that indeed this device, we could bring it to the login screen, how long the full process took, and a listing, an event log of the services starting. So that's a pretty good test. And to do that all runs on infrastructure that we provide. So that's all kind of turnkey within the platform. You don't need any devices at all. So in terms of setting up, the work involved there for recovery testing is just a matter of selecting the devices that you want to protect. So here's a couple that are available. Clicking through, I've got permission to do this. So I've got security privileges I can choose if I want to receive a nicely formatted report with that screenshot and all the details around that test. And then I simply press confirm. And immediately the next day, I'm going to get that recovery test and all that information, and it'll just repeat every 14 days. Then the second, more involved, and this is where Gil and his team are living, is what we call standby image. Another language you could use is active recovery. So basically, every time a backup runs, it runs from production. The data hits the storage. That's part of the part of the service that we're providing. And then a secondary process is updating an image or the data on infrastructure that you now host. And so the setup process is very similar to what we saw with recovery testing. So we go to standby image. The only difference is that we need to specify a location where that's going to land. So there's a small executable. I've got a few locations set up here. If you wanted to add a new location, it's just a matter of downloading a small executable, and then once you install that at the destination, could be a Hyper-V server, could be a server that connects to some shared storage or network storage, then you're done. So real simple. Then you select that location, and again, just a matter of clicking through, selecting the devices you want to land at that location, checks my credentials. Here, there's a little bit more specifications if I do want to register in the hypervisor or not. The reporting and confirm. And then again, that's all, that whole complex setup, which sounds like it should be a lot of work, is actually just minutes of work. And after that, it just runs. So all you have to do is monitor that. And that way you can get to that place where you've got that data sitting in a bootable format, which means that when, if there is an issue with production, you can bring it up very quickly, or you can run that full scale test and actually log into that server that is on standby and run that full scale test. So that's a quick overview of couple of the recovery scenarios. There's of course more details that we haven't shared in that, but that's gives you a pretty good idea of exactly what that looks like. And then there's a full scale of user management, role-based access, and all the rest of the security pieces. The important thing I'll just mention in closing is that just architecturally, we have removed all, the primary backup storage is off the network. There's no, or all the metadata associated with your backup is off the network, and the management layer is off the network. The number one target for the bad actors today, when they get inside of a network, is going after that backup infrastructure. So anything that is a local first architecture is the primary target for these bad actors. And so architecturally, we've got this advantage where we've, with using a cloud first architecture, that we've reduced that attack surface by removing so much of that. The only thing that's really required on the local network is an agent. And if they were to install that, or sorry, uninstall that, delete it, whatever may be the case, you are still able to fully recover to another location, and you're in full control of that. So just really, contextually, that's a common conversation, and certainly we've seen with other vendors where that has been the scenario where getting ransomed and that the backups have been taken out. That makes for a very difficult scenario and potentially very expensive scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll stop there, and I think we've got a poll that we want to run here, Carrie. Is that right?
We do, yes. So if our, here we go, you've got a poll right here that you can look at, and please respond and let us know if you'd like to receive some more information about Cove data protection. We'd love to have a conversation with one of our other backup specialists. We also can do a 30-day free trial if you're interested in that. And as Chris just showed you, it's a SaaS application. And so you don't have to download, install, and configure something. You literally can log in and have your first backups running in just a few minutes. So please let us know if you would like some more information.
Wonderful.
Other than that, Gilbert, any parting words?
Definitely use our software. It took me a few years to try to find you guys, and I'm glad we did.
So are
Wonderful. Well, really appreciate the time today, Gil. It's a pleasure working with you, and you know, love your story, and just keep up the good work.
Thanks. All right. Stay safe,
All right.
guys.
Stay
All right.
safe.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you to all the attendees. The recording will be sent to you afterward, and we thank you for joining.
All right. Take care.